On Thanksgiving, my drunk father tried to hit me one last time. I stayed quiet. They thought I was weak. But what I left behind, that changed everything. Thanksgiving used to be my least favorite holiday. Not because I hated the food or the forced family gatherings, but because I knew exactly how it would end. My dad drunk, angry, and looking for someone to bleed all over. Usually, that someone was me. He wasn't always like that. Or maybe he was, and I just didn't see it when I was a kid. My mom died when I was 8, and a year later, he married Sharon. She had 2 kids, Derek and Melanie, and I instantly became the odd one out in my own home. I was treated like an intruder. The leftover. They were his new family. I was just the inconvenient reminder of his old life. It started small. Missing out on trips because there wasn't room. Getting smaller gifts at Christmas. Then it turned into being blamed for everything. I'd come home from school and find my room rummaged through, things broken, and when I confronted Derek, he'd smirk and say I was imagining things. Sharon always believed him. My dad. He stopped even pretending to care. If I pushed it too far, he'd yell. And when he drank, yelling turned to hitting. I learned to stay quiet. To disappear when the bottles came out. To flinch before the storm. But that last Thanksgiving, I'd just turned 18. I was already saving money from my part-time job at a gas station and taking community college classes. That night, he got drunk earlier than usual. Sharon was too busy gossiping with her sister to notice. Derek and Melanie were taking turns mocking me under their breath, like they always did. But I wasn't rising to it. That pissed my dad off. He slammed his beer on the table and shouted, "What, too good to talk to us now?" I didn't respond. I just kept eating. He stood up, fast, knocked over his chair. I looked at him and said, as calmly as I could, "Sit down, Dad." Wrong move. He lunged, fist clenched, spit flying as he screamed about how I was ungrateful, disrespectful, selfish. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just stared at him. He raised his hand, and for the first time in my life, I stood up and didn't flinch. Instead, I took out my phone, pressed record, and said, "Try it." He hesitated. Just enough. Sharon stood up then, trying to de-escalate. She was always good at that when people were watching. "Don't record him like that. You're provoking him," she snapped. Derek laughed. "Jesus, you're so dramatic." I stopped recording. Walked to the door. Before I left, I said, "You just made this easy." Then I called the police. I told them everything. I showed them bruises that hadn't yet faded. Told them about the past. The alcohol. The threats. I gave them names of teachers who'd reported things. A counselor who'd tried to intervene years ago. They listened. And this time they acted. My father was arrested that night. It wasn't for long, 48 hours, and then out on bail, but it was enough to light a fire. I moved out the next morning. Cut ties completely. Blocked every number. Except one, Melanie. I left her unblocked on purpose. She'd always been the worst to me, petty, manipulative, vindictive. And I wanted her to see me win. Fast forward 2 years. I worked full-time and transferred to a state university. Got financial aid. A grant from a scholarship fund for survivors of domestic violence. It wasn't easy. I lived in a crappy studio. Ate way too much ramen. But I was free. They tried reaching out. Around holidays. Birthdays. Always with guilt. Your dad's trying to change. It's tearing the family apart. You're being so selfish. I never responded. Then last Thanksgiving, Melanie sent a long message. Said Dad had liver failure. Said the family was struggling to keep up with medical bills. They were trying to remortgage the house. I still said nothing. But that's when the idea for my revenge really took root. Here's what I never told them. That house. The one they were so desperate to save. It wasn't legally Sharon's. When Mom died, she left it to me. My father never refinanced it, never transferred the deed. He just assumed no one would ever question it. And when Sharon moved in, she was never put on the paperwork. So I went to a lawyer. Had the deed reviewed. Filed to reclaim ownership. Legally, I had every right. I waited until they were desperate. Until the house went into pre-foreclosure. Then, I made my move. Served them papers 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Sharon called me screaming. Melanie emailed me calling me a monster. Derek even showed up at my job, trying to intimidate me. I just smiled and said, "You might want to check the court dates." I didn't do it to make them homeless. I gave them options. They could sell the house, or pay rent to me, or leave. They left. Quietly. Ashamed. No legal battle. They didn't have the money. They couldn't afford to fight me. The best part? I never raised my voice. Never made threats. Just used what they overlooked, that I wasn't a powerless, scared kid anymore. I donated the house to a local women's shelter. Had it remodeled with the help of a non-profit. It's now transitional housing for women leaving abusive homes. Families like I used to be part of, trapped, scared, with nowhere to go. When Melanie found out, she posted a rant on Facebook about how I was destroying the family legacy. People in town praised the donation. She deleted the post. This Thanksgiving, I'll be volunteering at the shelter. Helping serve dinner. Watching kids play in the backyard where I used to sit and cry. I don't hate them. Not anymore. Hate is heavy. But I wanted them to feel what they made me feel. Invisible. Disposable. They thought I'd disappear. Thought I'd stay broken. But I was never weak. Just waiting. And what I left behind changed everything. It's not about the numbers, it's about the connection. But 1,000 subscribers would show me that this connection is real. If you're watching, please subscribe.